here's a tip of the day. On the race car here, I don't run a vanity cover, just due to all the wiring, and I'm always going in there changing plugs and coils at every track. So but I do run a cowl, but even with the cowl in place, I'm getting water dripping from the underside, and it's particularly annoying because it's going in the spark plug hole for cylinder 6 and around the injector for cylinder 6. So I've just got a habit now of using compressed air to blast out all the water before I remove the plug. Depending on how much water's in there and where your engine, which position your engine is in, could end up hydrolocking your engine. So blast all that out. But the misfire here in this cylinder is there's the root cause of it. So cylinder 6 has carbon tracking. It looks like a crack in the spark plug, but that's actually carbon tracking. And so instead of the electricity firing the plug at this end and us getting combustion, we're getting a misfire because the electricity is passing from the top here down to the body along that carbon trace, which is facilitated by all the water that's sitting around in there. Before we go back together, the 600 grit, very fine sandpaper here was used to rub the carbon trace off. Can't remember where it was, probably around there. And then dielectric grease applied to the ceramic part of the plug. Dielectric grease does not conduct electricity, it does exactly the opposite. So you're not putting it on the top there or on the spring inside of the boot, just on there. So that plug can now go back in, but we need to treat the boot. So we blast it out with compressed air to make sure it's all nice and dry. I've actually pulled the spring right out. I've got brake cleaner because that carbon trace is also embedded probably in the rubber here, and once it does that, I think it's almost good night and goodbye for these boots. But I at least like to think I'm doing the right thing by using some brake cleaner on a rag, shove it in there on an end of a screwdriver and really rub it around and try and clean off any carbon trace that might be in the end of the boot there. Then I'll put the spring back in and we'll reassemble. Just pulled plug number 5, no carbon traces going on there, which is great. And if you're eagle-eyed, you'll notice these are stock Bosch OE plugs that I run with the stock, well, gap, can't really change it. And running about 550 wheel horsepower on the street. There's no blistering going on there. I don't do long pulls, but definitely give it power, and these stock plugs are perfectly fine. So I don't run 1 step colder or 2 step colder, and I certainly don't gap them down to some stupid 16th thou or 18th thou or 20th thou. And no misfire issues except that cylinder 6 when I get water back in there around the plug. So when I'm on the track tuned up to 800 horsepower, we're running the Brisk Silver racing plugs, gap to about 27 thou, and that, along with the B58 coil packs, that picks me up. Just those alone with the B58s picks me up about 30 odd horsepower over stock coils and NGK 2-step colder plugs, because I can run a bigger gap.